to the next running back that was selected. It was Cam Akers out of Florida State. He went to the Los Angeles Rams with the 20th pick of the second round. You know, Todd Gurley's leaving a big void in LA. Steph, what do you think about this Cam Akers pick?
I love this pick. I'm very high on Akers. I think he's going to be fantastic.
Likewise.
He's not even 21 years old yet, making him one of the youngest running backs in the NFL.
Dang.
And I don't even feel like he's getting hyped up enough. I feel like he should be at that Clyde Edwards-Helaire level. I don't know if people were just scared because McVay and Les Snead came out and were saying that they want to run a committee this year. I think that's garbage. When you're going to see Akers be extremely explosive. He's fantastic in the receiving game, and if the Rams continue stick with that screen game like they had the last couple of years, maybe not so much in 2019, but in years prior, like with that screen game, I think that's where Akers fits in really, really nicely. Right away, you know, I'm regardless of workload split, I'm penning Akers in for 60 targets, probably somewhere between 45 to 50 receptions. So that's a great PPR bump as well. And to me, Akers is the best back in that running back room. You know, both the other guys were around 3.8 yards per carry last year. And then you look at the draft capital, you know, Darrell Henderson, which a lot of people were high on last season for good reason. He was taken in the third round. Malcolm Brown, who's in that running back room, was an undrafted free agent. So just off of that draft capital alone, you got to think the Rams are going to put that rubber to the road with Akers. I see him as a name you take in the fifth round if you need a running back and just take a shot on that upside. What's to say Akers isn't the next Todd Gurley?
I mean, that's certainly a hot take, but there's no reason he can't be at least as good as Todd Gurley was last season. Because Gurley, I mean, he wasn't good. He had 3.8 yards per carry, which is certainly pretty rough. And I know the LA Rams offensive line has gotten a lot of heat, but I certainly don't think it's necessarily as bad as everyone is saying. And even if it was that bad in 2019, it will improve in 2020. Todd Gurley vacates 223 carries from last season. So even if it is more of a committee type approach with Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson, you've got to think Cam Akers is still going to be a lock for 175 carries and receiving work. And when I look at this draft and I see guys like DeAndre Swift, like we just talked about, and Jonathan Taylor, and then later we're going to discuss J.K. Dobbins, all of those running backs I think are actually just as talented, if not more talented than Cam Akers. But just because of the situation, I think Cam Akers has a ton of appeal in fantasy football redraft for 2020. Behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think Cam Akers would be my next pick for 2020 specifically at the running back position of this rookie class. Just because the opportunity alone is so grand that Cam Akers could easily step into a role where he's getting 250 touches this season, which in fantasy we talk about it. It's all about talent and opportunity. He has both. This Rams team just 2 years ago was in the Super Bowl and one of the best offenses in the NFL. Last year I know they struggled, but if they can even find somewhere in the middle, Cam Akers could easily finish as a top 10 running back. I think the upside is huge with Akers. And then because of the volume alone, I think he's still pretty safe. So if he's my running back 2, I'm feeling great. And if he's my running back 1 and I've got strong receivers, I'm still feeling pretty solid just because he's going to get the ball and he's going to get the touches.
Yeah, this may be a hot take, but I am very much with you that behind Edwards-Helaire, Akers is the highest upside out of all the names in this draft. The risk for me just comes from the floor. You know, so that's where I feel a little bit uneasy. Just we'll see as things progress through the season. I would love for whether it's beat reporters to come out as we get closer to the season, or if McVay comes out and says Akers is going to be our lead back. That to me, I'm pulling the trigger right away. That's all I need to see. I'm all in on Akers, man. He ran at 5 yards per carry and behind one of the worst offensive lines in a Power 5 college football conference. And when you watch him play, the creativity when he's already getting hit behind the line of scrimmage to then still run at 5 yards per carry, that's just huge to me. So regardless of the offensive line, I think there's still production to be had.
One more thing to think about too, this was the Rams' first selection in this draft. And after a season last year where they missed the playoffs, you've got to think they're going to go out and address their biggest need first. And they spent their first pick of their draft capital on the running back position. So kind of like we talked about with Clyde Edwards-Helaire having that first-round draft capital, no, Akers didn't go in the first round, but for the Rams, this was the first pick they had in this draft. So if they took him there, they're going to use him, and they're going to use him a lot. I think he's a talented guy. Back to another place I interned back in the day. I interned with the Louisville football recruiting department, and it was actually when Akers was coming into college. So we were recruiting Akers, and I remember watching his tape and all of the coaches just raving about this kid and how he could do it all. He had power, but he had speed. He could catch the ball really well, and that didn't change in college. Everything improved for him, even on a horrific offensive line situation. I know there's a ton of narratives on that Florida State offensive line on social media and things, but Cam Akers, he's a great player. He's been up against good competition, and he's been under the spotlight for his whole career, at least back to high school. So I think he's going to step in, and he's going to do really well in LA.
I'm with you, man. I think we give Akers the Double Move Sports stamp of approval. We'll see once we stamp it down, man. When we both agree, that's when we throw the stamps down, for those of you who don't know. Guys, real quickly here, before we get into the next name, if you're liking what you're hearing here on the show, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends that are into fantasy. All of that really helps us, and we're putting the work in. Follow us on social media. We're on there every single day, engaging with you guys, posting clips, graphics, asking for your rankings, trying to get a feel. One of the polls I put out there was looking at some of the volume for these names, and whether you have a strong opinion or not, it's really cool to see what the rest of the community is saying.